Hi there, Scott Peterson from Drazio Peterson. Today we're talking about case studies. Today is Case Study Tuesday, so we're going to talk about an example of a case that we've handled in New York State involving an accident or an injury to try to give you some examples of what it is that happens in an injury case that's hopefully somewhat close to the issues that you're dealing with. Every Tuesday we look at a different case, and this week we're going to be talking about the issue of a parent or a grandparent who was injured in a nursing home or a nursing type facility. This sort of thing happens all the time for several reasons. One of the reasons is the obvious, that as people age, they become more susceptible to falls. They often become more susceptible to injuries as a result of those falls, and they require care that they may not have otherwise required when they were younger. It can also be the result of poor care by the facility. Nursing homes in New York are notorious for not having great service, for not taking care of their residents or their patients, and often when that happens, people get hurt. Now, the example we're going to look at today is an example of an elderly woman who was in her 80s but was otherwise relatively healthy, who was injured as a patient or a resident in a nursing home. She was designated as a risk to fall. What does that mean? It means that the nursing staff observed her having some instability when she was walking. Because of that, they made a note in her record that indicated that she was at risk for a fall. What does that do? Well, that should trigger certain policies and protocols among the facility to ensure that she is not permitted to just get up and walk, or that she's not permitted to walk without assistance. But in this case, nothing happened. They didn't put any restrictions in place. They didn't put any type of monitors or bed alarms or side rails or anything along those lines that would have prevented her from walking unassisted. Problem is, she got up, fell, broke her hip, which started a chain of events that ultimately led to her death. And following the hip fracture, the problem that developed was that she developed bed sores. And how does that happen? Well, that happens because the staff was not appropriately rotating the patient and keeping an eye on her to ensure that bed sores did not develop. If you've never seen bed sores, consider yourself lucky. When somebody is hurt and they're not able to move themselves, it is absolutely critical that a facility like a nursing home takes steps to ensure that the person does not just remain in one position in bed. That's what happened here. The sores were able to, or allowed to, progress significantly through the various stages to the point where the patient became septic. And essentially her body just shut down. In this case, her family came to us looking for help. So we went through the process of having one of her sons appointed as an administrator of her estate, and we then obtained the records from the nursing facility. We brought on an expert in nursing care who reviewed the records and told us, yes, this is not appropriate. They did this, and this wrong. We filed a lawsuit. And in this case, this was a downstate lawsuit in New York City. And we pursued this case for well over a year through the litigation process. We took depositions of several witnesses from the facility, none of whom really had much to say that was helpful for the facility itself. The defense attorneys took a deposition of the family members of the deceased woman, and we got the case ready for trial. And we appeared in court ready for trial, and the case ultimately settled just before trial. This is not an uncommon path that these sort of cases take. These are very unfortunate cases, and in many situations they're entirely preventable if the nursing home takes the right steps. So there's a number of things that go into evaluation of a case involving a patient in a nursing home or an elderly patient. But if you have a family member who has been hurt or has had something really terrible happen to them in a nursing home, feel free to reach out to us, because these are the kinds of cases that we handle. We know the ins and outs of these issues, and we are happy to talk with you about it.